All right, Valve officially revealed the prices for the Steam machine after a long wait, and surprise, surprise, it's incredibly expensive, like everything right now. This is an interesting one to talk about because I have been very focused on the Steam machine. I was excited for the prospects of it when it was announced, and there's a lot to dive into with this one. Mostly not good, but I do think there is a silver lining to some of this, which I will get to, but the Band-Aid getting ripped off. The price is $1,049 US for the 512 gig version. That's without a controller. That's crazy. There's a couple SKUs, and then the highest version is the 2 terabyte version that does come with a controller for over $1,400. We have the specs finally confirmed on screen here, as you can see, and yeah, I think there is definitely absolute sticker shock with this one. Yeah, I don't think that comes as a big surprise. Like what did you think I was gonna say? Obviously, with the whole RAM pricing thing right now, that seems like it's going to be going on for a long time now, because Micron, of all people, just announced that they have kind of like locked in floor memory pricing now for the next 5 years. So it's gonna be a while. Prices are gonna continue to suck, and this seems like just terrible timing that totally screwed Valve on this. I'm not saying feel bad for the corporation or anything like that, but like a lot of people have put the math together looking at Valve using similar suppliers and stuff like that, and how they've had to increase the price of the Steam Deck. People are applying that same math here, estimating that it seems like maybe, you know, the Steam machine initially was intended to cost around $750 US, which some people, that might be more than they expected, but I still think that is a much, much sweeter price than what we got here. And I think at over $1,000, people are going to look at the specs and can't help but compare to a pre-built, which would, yeah, definitely likely cost a bit more, or a PS5 Pro, which is lower at 900 USD, a little cheaper, and just spec-wise and everything, games might look and perform better than with what Valve is offering here. For a good portion of people now, the Steam machine is officially going to be a hard no. Because, I mean, the fact that they couldn't keep it under $1,000, the fact that it has to be $50 over, most places, most retailers really shoot for that 99 over 100, because it's just like a consumer science thing. It's just like how the brain works. But the fact that they couldn't even keep it under 1,000 is pretty damning. I think what this does is that it cuts Valve's Steam machine potential in half. I was excited about the potential for the Steam machine for getting in the hands of people that really aren't into PC gaming. They've already done a great job with that, with getting Steam Decks in the hands of people who don't play on gaming PCs or anything like that. And I thought Steam machine was going to be the next step of that, with Valve kind of going for the living room in their own kind of unique way, not competing with Xbox or PlayStation, but doing their own thing. I think that's still going to be the case here, but I think with this price, and just looking at comments and talking to some people in like my social media mentions and stuff like that, it does seem like with this price, they lost a lot of people that were interested in this thing as a tiptoe into the PC gaming world. Console people that were getting a little curious at the other side, people who didn't want to necessarily build, but maybe developed a little bit of a Steam library over time, or just something, and they were eyeing this. It seems like now the price is a little bit too far. I do still think, and some people aren't going to believe me on this, there is still a hardcore enthusiast community out there that this device is for. Whether or not that makes sense to you, I know, but it is a thing worth acknowledging. I dip my toe into the community world of Valve hardware, Steam hardware, Linux stuff, and there are still a lot of people excited at the prospect of this device. And for some people I've spoken to, it seems like just the appeal of getting access to that Steam library, Valve's whole everything they've built there, is worth the price for them. Price is subjective, right? Everybody's wallet's different. Some people think, no way, absolutely no way. And I get it. I mean, especially with the fact, like, when you look at the specs and like when you start doing like spec comparison stuff to PlayStation, or if you start being like, well, why don't I build my own PC? Then it gets murky, right? But I think the reality is a lot of these people weren't going to build their own PC in the first place. But I do think, again, to go back, because I'm like getting all over the place, there are some nerds that still are very excited for this thing for various reasons. Some people have the expendable income. Some people want to share their Steam games with their family in another room, and or maybe they don't want to sit at their PC gaming all the time. I've also spoken to some people that like travel a lot and want to bring it with them, whether they're on a military base or they live in an RV, because that form factor, you still can't really beat that. That small form factor is really good. I say that as a small form factor enthusiast. I've built my own small PCs, but I think Valve, from this box size, they still really got it going on. But I think what this does, like me saying all that, it does still push it a little bit more into the niche territory. It's probably going to have a niche hardcore following, but I think the price kind of undercut it getting to the next level. I think if it did initially release at that $750 estimation, that would have helped. I think a lot of people still wouldn't go for that and still would be like, well, but my console, or what if I built? But I think now, jumping over to 1,000, that makes it a much tougher sell. Now, I said when I posted about this, when they announced the prices, that I wish they would have waited, but I was kind of like, to be completely upfront here, I was kind of way off on that, because in terms of like, I wish they waited for prices to go back down. It doesn't seem like prices are going to go back down for a long time. So if anything, it's almost like they should have gotten it out sooner. A lot of people will point because the specs to them feel outdated, but I really think it's the price to spec thing here. And just, I don't know, how could they have gotten it out earlier at a lower price? I don't know. The silver lining here that I did want to talk about, I mean, like, there are a lot of people in my mentions and just people commenting on the price of this who just say $1,000 or $1,200. At that point, I could just build my own PC. I've said it in many times before in videos, building a PC is easier than ever in terms of knowledge. Price, not so much. It's a fucking mess. But price aside, like if you manage to get things on sale, maybe get some things used, whatever, if you can manage to get together the parts you need, you can build. I promise you. If I can build something, if I've built multiple PCs over the course of my life, over six or seven builds at this point. If I could do it, you could do it. Again, to be clear, that's in a perfect world scenario with price and stuff like that. But what I'm saying here with the silver lining is Valve, I think the one smart thing they did here, because they had to come out with the price, they've done interviews and they're like, oh yeah, but they did do an interview with The Verge where they talked up SteamOS, specifically newest SteamOS 3.8. And I honestly think, for me personally, because I'm a little cavalier with some of this stuff, is because I still really believe in the software the most. I believe the most in what the Linux community has done and what Valve has done with Steam OS specifically, more than hardware. I got the ROG Ally X, the Xbox One, for review, and I immediately gutted Windows on that thing and installed SteamOS. I also burned one of my PC builds down, I'm talking eradicated Windows, and installed Bazite on it, and messing around with SteamOS and stuff like that. This is where I think there is true potential, because alternative options. There is a future for PC gaming. PC gaming has had growth, but so much of it, at least for mainstream audiences, is around Windows. And I've said this before, I despise Windows with a passion. I hate it. I find it a hindrance to PC gaming accessibility. It's good that you can download whatever you want on Windows, but I've always just found Windows annoying and problem prone and not very user intuitive. SteamOS, the simplicity of it, the out of the box thing, if you've used the Steam Deck or if you're going to be a Steam Machine person, it is much easier. It is just good, simple, clean, intuitive software. It's not for every type of gamer because it's not going to work with every single game, but I think SteamOS is the future more than their individual hardware devices. So Valve did these interviews kind of reiterating hey, Steam Machine is here, it's expensive, but also you will be able to make your own Steam Machine. And that's important to me personally, as a builder, as someone who is curious, as someone who does want options and also sometimes doesn't want to spend a bunch of cash on Valve's, hardware. There's getting a little funky with SteamOS. And I think for the people, like I said, the people that said, they want to build a PC, but they aren't because they're scared or whatever. But maybe some people have an older PC or they do save up and get a pre-built. What is easy, or what is getting easier at least, is to install SteamOS on that machine. If you're not getting technical with hands-on building, a little bit of software tweaks can make a hell of a difference. Quote, SteamOS 3.8.1 launched last week with a slew of updates, including improved compatibility with recent Intel and AMD platforms. Improved compatibility and stuff like that. It's good, but it's still not there yet. Full transparency. There's still shit you got to deal with. You still need to be a little bit of a computer person for some of this, but it is getting easier and easier. NVIDIA compatibility, like if you have a pre-built or you do put something together with an NVIDIA card, that's still quite not there. Valve did in this interview mention that they have staffed up and they are working on more NVIDIA compatibility with SteamOS, but I think it's going to be at least another year or so at the very, like you can do some stuff now, but it requires a lot and it's not perfect. But like in terms of Valve working on it, I think it's still going to be a while before it's completely perfected. But again, I have made this video super boring for some of you guys who just clicked on it to hear me bitch about the price. I'm still more excited and I still believe more in the software prospects more than anything. So what I'm looking at now is, you know, you have the Steam machine, which for a lot of people, too expensive, especially a lot of people who are just curious, who are kind of into it. They're turned off now. Fine. But I'm hoping that the hardcore niche crowd of Steam, Valve hardware enthusiasts, because they are out there, look them up. There is quite a community, quite a vibrant community based around Steam Deck, SteamOS, Linux, all that. What I'm hoping is that they can keep this thing alive. They can help keep this thing going so that at the very least, if prices don't come down and like, you know, in a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, Valve doesn't suddenly drop the price of the Steam machine, because I don't know how likely that's going to be. At the very least, SteamOS will get better and options will get better for consumers, for flexibility, for leaving some walled gardens or just annoying gardens. I don't know, anything. Just more choice, more flexibility. I like that. And within this Verge report, like, you know, Valve even saying like that they are able to work now with partners like NVIDIA and actually work closely with them for working on SteamOS. I think everybody working together and software being for everyone is good. Call me old fashioned, but you know, that's where I'm looking at it now. And you know, maybe it's because my brain has broken, and after the every day something bad in the news, and everything in the video game and tech world something bad in the news, and this studio closed, this price went up, this price went up, this price went up again. With all that, I can't help but try and look for an upside on this, try and look for a silver lining. And so it's not the sexiest answer, but for me, I believe in Harvey Dent. Like, I believe in SteamOS, really. Maybe I'm crazy. You get where I'm coming from this one? Again, I am a PC person, so that's kind of where I'm looking at this. But if you are a console person who was spurned by this price, I'd love to know what you're thinking. I probably know what you're thinking. You know, too much for you? Or maybe you have some expendable income, you're still interested. Let me know where you're at with the Steam machine itself. I will be trying to get my hands on one because it's my job, so I would like to review it and talk about it at some point. So keep your eyes peeled for that. But let me know where you are with this. Like I said, if you are a console person interested, if you are a PC gamer already, you're interested, maybe you're a Linux gamer, let me know your perspective. There's definitely a lot to talk about with this one. And as much as I am an enthusiast with some of this stuff, I am not a computer scientist by any means. So maybe some of you have a better perspective, but hit me up. Let's talk about this stuff. Hopefully this helped you, you know, with whatever you're doing right now, whether you're listening to me on your phone or watching on TV. Thank you. I appreciate it. I don't put out videos too often on this channel, just like once or twice a week. So clicking the like button, subscribing, all that stuff helps me. But yeah, thank you very much for listening to me ramble and yap for this long. I'm Jake Baldino. Subscribe because video games, pizza's on me.